When it comes to vocal qualities, be mindful of your tone and rate of speech. A general rule of thumb is to match your client's vocal qualities if you want to connect. Pay attention to verbal underlining. Verbal underlining refers to how a client might be saying something. For instance, he or she may lower their voice when talking about a difficult subject. Matching the client's vocal tone in these circumstances is appropriate. Be careful about stereotyping people with accents that might be different from your own. A common stereotype is that people with a country accent are not quite as bright as those without. Burdened by that kind of stereotype, a person or counselor denies themselves the opportunity to truly know someone because they have already prejudged them based on their accent. Verbal tracking, sometimes just referred to as tracking, means staying with your client's topic. It means being aware of those circumstances when your client goes off on a tangent and being able to bring them back to the core topic. Bringing them back brings organization to their thoughts. Additionally, some of those tangents can be diversions or efforts on the part of the client to avoid talking about a difficult subject. Finally, clients will sometimes say something that seems to be small just to see if the counselor will pick up on it. In these instances, small or a tiny reference can really lead to something significant. Be attentive to distance. Some cultures like to stand close, others not so much. Note your client's body language during session. If they start squirming in their seat, something has made them uncomfortable. If they fold their arms, they might be getting defensive. If they are silent and lost in thought, they just might be pondering new thoughts. When clients start talking in session, they will say something that will have multiple parts to it. The conversation could go in any number of directions. How you respond as a counselor will determine the direction of the session. This is called selective attention. The counselor is being selective in what he or she attends to. As a counselor, be aware of what you attend to. Try to ensure that no issue gets lost. Sometimes it might be appropriate to be inattentive or non-attentive. For example, if a client keeps talking about the same thing over and over again, you might be able to shift the conversation by being non-attentive. A counselor can do this by failing to maintain eye contact, or by shifting his or her body around, or by utilizing a disinterested vocal tone. The point is, a counselor can be non-attentive for a therapeutic reason. Sometimes you can be helpful to your client just by staying silent. In the United States, however, we don't like silence. We often rush in to fill up those moments of silence. Counselors are comfortable with silence and know how to use it therapeutically. For example, it might happen during session when talking about a complicated issue. A client gets quiet and stares off into space. It's very likely at that moment the client is having a new thought. He or she is thinking about something that they have not thought of before. The counselor who recognizes this will stay silent and give the client the opportunity to explore this new thought. You have probably heard the quote from Epictetus, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak." That's useful to keep in mind when counseling. An exception to this might be when the counselor is working with children or with very low-functioning adults. The good counselor will be empathetic. Empathy means experiencing the client's world and story as if you were that client. It means understanding his or her key issues and saying them back accurately without adding your own thoughts, feelings, or meanings. Empathy means putting yourself into another person's shoes and understanding what that's like. Here's a video clip of Brene Brown discussing empathy.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
The benefits of demonstrating empathy include clients who feel heard and understood. That by itself, feeling heard and understood, is sometimes all that is needed for a successful outcome. Here's an example of someone doing just that.
My rocket! Wait, Riley and I were still using that rocket. It still has some song power left. Who's your friend who likes to play? No, you can't take my rocket to the dump. Riley and I are going to the moon. Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time. We had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
How did you do that?
said, so I listened to what...
Hey, there's the train.
There are three kinds of empathy. The first is subtractive empathy. It's not good, because the counselor's response is incomplete and perhaps even a distortion. Basic empathy is a response that is essentially equivalent to whatever it was the client said. Additive empathy is a response that takes the client, whatever the client said, and adds something useful to it. Additive empathy is therapeutic. It furthers the client. Here's a scale that shows that subtractive empathy isn't that helpful. Basic empathy is just okay, and additive empathy is the most helpful. Your words can create something new in your clients. Identifying the positive characteristics of your clients and drawing attention to those is like watering a flower and watching it grow. Nurturing positives and showing positive regard will bear fruit. Counselors are always searching for strengths and positive assets in their clients. Counselors convey warmth and demonstrate respect because those are our tools. If those are absent, the counselor needs to reflect upon his or her life towards understanding why. Concreteness in the counseling session is useful. Remember, it was Socrates who said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Seeking concreteness aids in the effort of examination. Be in the moment with the client. Speak in the present tense, because that's what's generally most useful. Here's a short video about being present to your client.
No matter how good a therapist is, how many books they've read or letters appear after their name, they do need to turn up to sessions. And that's not just physically, it's emotionally. A good therapist knows how to be present, to give their full attention, no matter what the client's like or how difficult the subject matter. They don't always drift off and get distracted. They don't make clients feel like only certain sides of them are okay. A good therapist can sit with the client, whoever they are, and whatever they bring. We're often taught that some feelings are okay and others aren't, which stops us navigating our emotions comfortably. By tolerating whatever a client brings, the therapists can show them a healthy way to relate to their own emotions. You can practice being present through mindfulness, which comes from Buddhist teachings from over 2,000 years ago. The Buddha taught that human suffering is rooted in craving, trying to hold on to what we want and get rid of what we don't want. The Buddha stressed the importance of just being with our experiences, noticing them without trying to change them. Mindfulness is about being present in your whole experience, whatever you're doing, thinking, or feeling. Therapists have to be present with themselves before they can be present with others. Some therapists teach their clients mindful techniques, such as meditation. Here, you sit comfortably and breathe, letting all of your sensations, thoughts, and feelings come and go. Don't try to hold on to them or get rid of them. Just notice how they bubble up and drift away. It's not easy, and you'll definitely get distracted. When this happens, just notice it and come back to the present moment and the feeling of your breath. It's important to be gentle and kind with yourself. You can practice being present during everyday tasks too, like washing up, brushing your teeth, or walking the dog. The idea is to gradually shift your habit of trying to grasp what you want and hurl away what you don't want, so that you can be more open to the whole of your experience. And it all starts with this very moment, now!
Counselors strive to be non-judgmental. Toward that goal, it's useful to adopt a stance of curiosity. If you are curious, you will be open and non-judgmental. Good counselors will be congruent, genuine, and authentic. These qualities by themselves will help contribute to successful therapy. In the text, there's an example of the author, Ivey, working with a client named Azara. The first example is an example of poor counseling, and that is followed by an example of good counseling. Apart from helping your client with his or her issues, practicing good attending skills can help your client improve his or her own social skills and attending behavior. Doing so will certainly have a positive impact. The author of your text, Alan, did an experiment with some veterans in a hospital where he taught patients attending and other social skills. These behaviors, once learned, enabled some of these patients to be discharged from the hospital and go home. It seems like attending and listening should be easy, but it's not. The good counselor will work hard to improve upon these skills. How? By practicing. Practicing with clients. Practicing with family and friends. Because that's how we learn. If you're interested in some research about the importance of intentional practice, be sure to listen to the podcast here at the end of the slide.